17 years ago, I was diagnosed with RA. It was quick, as I know quite a few people will find, is that it just hit one day. It was severe, and I couldn't use my arm, and walking was difficult. Fatigue was there. And at the beginning, until diagnosis and treatment started to work, I was basically housebound. Now, my way of fighting something is with knowledge, and I just wanted to get out there and find out as much as I could. But the personal computer at that point was not a really valid thing. Most of us didn't have them in our, most of us did not have them in our houses. If we did, they were DOS. We had to have a lot more knowledge than we did at the beginning. And so my world of knowledge was, my world of information was quite small. It came from friends, and I know most people listening will appreciate this. They told me about their great-grandfather who had a touch of rheumatoid, died early, died young. Oh, that's a terrible disease. And the other thing that I got was a great book from the Arthritis Society called the Arthritis Help Book. I followed what that book said. It said, get a support system. I had family support. I have incredible family support. Check. I had friends on board. My friends were extremely supportive. Check. I had a medical support team, OT, PT, RD, GP, pharmacists. I can't tell you what their two-letter number is, but I'm sure they had it. I was set. I was ready to go. But it's 3 in the morning. And how many of us have been there at 3 in the morning? You're awake, you're scared, you hurt. That swollen big toe could be anything. You just keep remembering that old gentleman with the rheumatoid. Is that really a rash? And how long will this last? Why can't I sleep, and who's around to help me? I can tell you my support systems at that point did not want to be woken at 3 in the morning to discuss a tiny little rash that even I really couldn't see. So when we got the personal computer, it changed my life. Now, to those of you that are used to tablets and laptops, you might not appreciate that this was some way of me getting into the community without leaving my home. I had a personal computer, and I decided to see what help there was other than that Arthritis Help Book. And the world opened for me. Social media. I Googled, it wasn't Google at that point, and I found alt.support.arthritis. And that was about 16 years ago. It opened my eyes and provided me with a community who understood what I was going through at the time, had helpful hints, and perhaps the most important to me, they were there at 3 in the morning. This group was composed of about 1,000 people around the world. So at 3 in the morning, there might be somebody in Australia who could answer my question. There might be another woman with the exact problems that I was having with my medications. At 3 in the morning, there was somebody just to listen to me, and sometimes that's all I needed to take away that fear. Maybe give a virtual hug, and perhaps just to tell me it was okay to be scared. Now, in our group of alt.support.arthritis, we had Christmas card exchanges, present exchanges, a virtual baby adoption shower for someone who could not get pregnant because of her methotrexate, laughs, tears. Some people met each other. They had wonderful reunions. Some talked on the phone, myself included, and many of us formed incredible friendships that are still here today. As a matter of fact, the joy of social media, I talked about this last night, and I suspect some of my friends are online today, or at least I hope so. But there were problems. There were some real problems. We had spammers. At this time of the year, the sour cherry juice came out. It cured everything from ingrown toenails to you name it, and definitely it cured arthritis. Everybody needed to take this. Living water. Never figured out what that was, sorry. Stuff that cured athlete's foot as well as severe arthritis. And we had people with issues with mental illnesses, and they couldn't listen or contribute. And sometimes it got into a really scary space. We had no privacy, and this was definitely an ethical problem as it went along. At the time, we didn't worry about this. Hey, we had a whole group. We were all talking. What could go wrong? However, if you Google my name, it's going to come up way too many times. So as technology changed, we moved to a closed Facebook page. Now, there are still many social networks out there. Some are closed, some aren't. With the closed Facebook page, we addressed some of the above concerns. With biological meds, we have less people than we used to. People are going on with their life. They're not sitting there waiting for something to work for 6 months. People have gone back to the workplace. And they also have other areas of support. We still have people watching alt.support.arthritis. So if you do come there and you really need help, we're going to give it to you. We have people regularly that can tell you where to go, how to find those ethical spots. What we found is most useful, and they can help us get you into our group if that's what you want to do. Now, online support also comes in other forms. I watch many blogs. Check out one, and there'll be a link on the side usually. You can link to others. It's another great way to find people that have the same concerns as you. For example, mothers who are dealing with RA and children. This is something that is not always addressed in our usual doctor's appointments. Maybe physio doesn't even address it, but other mothers, they know what it's like. One in particular that kept me interested for a solid week that I was just told about was Room Full of Tips. And that kept me just enthralled for a week. It was terrible. I kept pushing that button to see what other tips she had. Now, many other societies and other health groups, such as the Arthritis Society, have chat lines, and it's possible to find people there as well. But why use social media? Why is this important, and what can it do for you? Well, first, as I've touched upon, you have real people with the same issues. For example, I found a person in Florida who had had a similar reaction to a med as I did. She and I supported each other through many problems and fears. With this same med effect, I had to go into the hospital. It was a 2% chance of getting this side effect, and I was in a small hospital, ER, had no idea what to do. I emailed my social group, and within a week, I had questions coming from all over the world. I had a doctor in South Africa who actually talked to me, and I could relay back that information, and it was really valid. He didn't give me a lot of information. He just said, please talk to your doctor about such and such. South Africa, that's a long way away from me, and he was definitely in a different time zone than I was. Now, support and social interaction, when you can't get out into the real world, if we want to call it that, is really important too. And this is a way that social media can help you. Quite often, due to limitations, we hear about Handy Dart, for example, not being able to get people to groups. At least you have somebody else you can talk to. Or again, at 3 in the morning, if you don't want to truck out in your pajamas, you have someone online. It's also practical advice from people who have learned from other classes and experience. For example, if you're a gardener or a crafter, someone might offer you information on a tool that they've used with a longer handle. They might educate you a little bit on what they've been educated about the principles of timers and large grip, friction, how to turn on that tap when you're just diagnosed. All this information might enable you to ease your pain and lessen joint damage while carrying on with the things you love to do. If nothing else, you might just find out what plants are growing in their spring garden. Over the time, I've gotten many suggestions on preparing for doctor's appointments and passed that information on. This is a topic that's always hard. Doctors do not have very much time anymore. Anyone who gets 25 minutes, hold up their hand. I doubt it. Not with your rheumatologist, usually. So the more you can prepare and the more you can funnel down to what's important, I've found has helped me in my relationship with my doctor. And this is something I've gotten from social media. For me, one of my most important things has been hope. I think at all times with any chronic disease, we sometimes, especially when we're hurting and especially at 3 in the morning, we really need hope. We need hope that there's new trials, that there's new medical information out there, that somebody out there in the research department really cares about us and our issues. Or maybe it's just that you need a new way to read and you want to know which e-reader is the lightest, which buttons can be pushed the easiest. These are all information that give us hope that we can carry on our lives in the ways we want to carry them on. And the other thing that over the time has been really important to me is a reminder of the non-medicinal stuff that we can do. We become so dependent on our medications and things like that that we forget about the principles we've been taught along the way of stretching, icing. Maybe we haven't needed those splints for a while and we need reminding that, hey, your wrists are sore. Get on your splints for a couple days. See if that helps. So this is another way that social media has helped. Now, originally I wrote down who is using support groups. And I think in our own way, we all have support groups. Who's using the online? Everybody. Men, women, young, old, people who haven't been diagnosed, and people who have been diagnosed for quite a while. So, rules. Take advice with a grain of salt. Watch for spammers, ask if they've tried the treatment, and always check with your doctor before trying anything new. Think before sending an email. It does not come back. Talk about the good times. Give and take. Give your positive stuff. Don't always talk about how bad things are going, even if you have to squeeze to get that out. And give advice that you know that someone can use, that you have used yourself. Do not push your own current regime, but do share it. Do tell people if you're using something and it's working. That gives hope. And watch for ethical issues. We're not professionals, and we try not to give advice except in general terms. For example, ice won't usually hurt. Try it first if your joint is hot and swollen. Maybe I think it's time you went to see the professional. Maybe it's time to go to ER. So jump on board, because at 3 in the morning, someone is awake and someone cares.